Well, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome in from across the continent for another exciting broadcast with us here at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. I know we've got a lot of new faces in the crowd today, both on our YouTube channel, StreamYard, and the Zoo YouTube channel. And so if you are new to us, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world. And we have the great privilege of getting to partner with the team at the Toronto Zoo every single month to feature all their stories of education, conservation, amazing wildlife. It is so much fun. Everything we do with them is on our YouTube channel, and you can explore and discover so much more there. Now, over 420 of you are signed up today from all across coast to coast in Canada and the US. It's so nice to have you here. If you are new to us too, we like to do cahoots together. So between our talk and our Q&A today, we're going to have a little 4-question quiz to test your understanding, have a little bit of fun. If you want to pull up this game pin, and I will highlight this a few more times and put it on our channels in a minute, that's an extra way to keep it interactive before our question period. Now, without further ado, I'm going to bring in Mary Ellen Fraser, the greatest educator in the world that I get to work with. Don't tell the other educators. I love Mary Ellen. It's always a great time. And today we're going to learn about no small feet, animal feet. There are a lot of different kinds of them. If you've ever looked at some animal feet up close, you'll know that they're not all like our little ones. So I'm excited to dive in. We're going to explore some cool habitats. We're going to explore some live animals. We've got a cool PowerPoint for you guys. A little bit of everything. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring in Mary Ellen. Thank you so much for joining us again, and welcome back.
Thank you so much. Your introductions just keep getting better and better every time we do a program together. It really just gets the energy pumping and ready. And we've got a beautiful day here today. Some amazing animals behind me that we're going to learn all about. So I'm so excited to be joining everyone here today. Like Jesse said, my name is Mary Ellen, and I work here at the Toronto Zoo in our Learning and Engagement department. So I do a bunch of the educational programs here with our animals. Now, before we get started, Jesse had it up there, but I kept talking too long for him there. Sorry about that. I'm going to just do a quick land acknowledgement here for us before we get started today. So we would just like to acknowledge that the land that we are on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We would also like to acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty signed with multiple Mississauga and Chippewa bands. Thank you so much, Jesse. So as he was mentioning in our introduction here, we are going to be learning about animal feet. Now, I know that sounds kind of strange. It's not something you maybe think about every single day for these different creatures that we have all around us, but they're pretty important for us as humans as well. And we're going to kind of learn about why there's so many different kinds of feet out there and what their purpose is. And also, one of my favorite things to be able to do is I have a pretty wide knowledge of a lot of animals here at the zoo. Oh, we have one very brave friend, Carrie, coming down to say hi. We'll get her in the back of our shot here. I have a lot of knowledge about the animals here at the zoo. But if it doesn't live here at the zoo, I often don't have the same level or depth of knowledge if it's not something that I've studied and learned about for programs just like this one. But one thing you can do is, as you're learning more and more about animals in your life and just all over, is if you learn generalized characteristics or trait about them, you can take that information and apply it to animals that maybe you've never even heard of or seen before. And this kind of information can tell you where they might live, what they might like to eat, how they move around in their habitat, and all sorts of amazing facts about them, which is really cool. And it kind of makes it so that even though you don't know everything about every animal or species in the world, you can know enough that you can apply the knowledge. And this works not only just for animals here at the zoo and learning about them, but in so many aspects of our lives around us. There's so much knowledge out there, and to be able to learn it all is probably not possible for most of us out there. But to know enough and be able to apply our knowledge out there is what counts even more. So what I'm going to do really quickly, because I know the star of the show is in front of me now, is I'm going to turn my camera around and introduce you to our camel herd here in front of us. And actually, if you are a longtime viewer with us, we were out here when little Miss Carrie was just a little baby. So she was born May 4th, 2023. So she was actually born on Star Wars Day. So she is named after Carrie Fisher from Star Wars, which is pretty fun. So we were actually with her when she was just a couple of months old. And now we're here again when she's just after she's turned a year old. And I'll give you kind of a scale here. I'm 6 feet tall as an adult human, and I'm about as tall as her hump is on the back of her body there. So she has grown quite a bit. There she is coming in to say hi to us. She's definitely the most curious of our camels. And I'll introduce quickly just our other friends up on the hill. So she does live here with her mom and her kind of aunts and cousins. So up there we would have Josie, Soraya, and probably Tilly as well. And Tilly is my personal favorite. She's actually the camel right in the middle there. Maybe she'll come down and see us in a few minutes, as she has her tongue sticking out. So when you see Tilly come down, she is the tongue out camel. Now, really quickly, I'm going to try and focus in here. It's a little bit harder because she is standing on grass. But as we can see that our camels here do have 4 legs and 4 feet. Now, for the purpose of today, I'm going to be pretty general with the term foot or feet. We're definitely going to categorize some limbs of animals that probably don't fall into that exact feet or foot area. But we're going to talk about it as still because it relates to their mobility and how they get around. So for camels, they're what's called an ungulate, which quite possibly is my favorite word of all time. It's a very fun word to say, ungulate. And basically that just has to do with the structure of their foot. So it's kind of a, not quite a hoof, but similar to that. And it's got like a large flat bottom to it. Now, there's lots of different animals out there with all sorts of different feet. And because we're just at the camels today, and I know it can be hard to visualize all the other animals, I actually am going to have Jesse bring up really quickly a slideshow that I've prepared for us. So we can take a look at it and kind of compare and contrast all the different types of feet that we see. So first of all, there's just so many different ones, and they all have their own adaptation and meaning for it. So we're going to kind of go around in a circle, but we can see that we have a fish fin, which I'm going to classify as a foot for today's purpose. We have rhino feet. We have a horse foot. We have duck feet. We've got a paw, human feet, a gorilla foot, a lemur foot / hand, a frog foot, and then also some talons from a bird. Now, you might have already noticed that as I went around that circle there, I started calling them by different names. So we said hoof, we said foot, we said paw, fin, and talons. So already you can see that there's so many different ways that we can classify what a foot truly is. So let's dive a little bit deeper into it. Jesse, let's head to the next one there. And so we're going to look at the different animals today and kind of compare how they walk. Now, this is a really interesting diagram and a little bit weird to think about because it's the different bones that we have in our body. So just by looking at these 3 left to right here, does anyone in our YouTube chats or anything want to guess, or maybe our school groups, which one is the human foot, the left, the middle, or the right foot?
Ooh, and I'll bring in just to say that our StreamYard classes, I'm happy to bring you guys in to see. If you guys want to type in our StreamYard chat, our YouTubers, you can put it in the YouTube chat. Any place you want to put your answer, we'd love to hear from you guys. Which one is our human foot? Oh, we got left. First one. Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Left. Everyone's
Good
saying
job.
left. I think they might be right. It looks pretty human to me.
Yeah, it looks pretty human. But here's the kicker. Does anyone know what the other 2 legs are? Anyone want to take a guess at those? The human one was pretty easy to find. Let's take a guess at what the other ones are.
All right. I'm going to again bring up some classes. You know what? Miss Caracas' class. I'm going to have you guys yell out. What's the middle one? Do we know?
I want to wait. Can I answer? I want to go. Okay, fine. Answer. Yeah, we know.
Let's see. Types of feet. The last one's a horse coming in from Miss Hurley's class. That's fair.
Yeah.
I think that might well be correct. Middle one's an ostrich. Interesting. Bird, talons, horse. So you got a lot of people thinking the middle one might be a bird. The last one, horse, is pretty consistent. Middle is a cat we've got.
Ooh.
Guys, I love it.
Very close with the cat. So the middle one is more like a dog. So the three examples here is human, kind of like a dog or cat. And then you're right on the last one, a horse as well. So it just shows us how we all have the same kind of bone structures in our bodies, but we have them in different ways. So humans, we walk flat-footed or with our whole foot bone on the ground. And then dogs and cats walk more kind of on the ball of their feet. And then horses or other ungulates tend to walk on their very tiptoe of their foot instead. So it's just about how we all are able to walk and move. And again, this is for different reasons of how we survive. So humans, we developed flat feet and kind of walking like that, walking upright, or it's called bipedalism, which is like the two-legged walking that we do. We developed that for long, big strides. That's how we walk. Dogs and cats and other animals with paws are more quick sprinters and also fast and can jump around and pounce quite a bit. And then horses and other ungulates are made for long distance running or walking. And so they kind of have feet that are more adapted to that. All right, Jesse, let's keep going on to the next one here. We're going to go through some of our examples of the different feet. So for our jumping animals, one thing we can really see about them, we can hear the camels making some sounds in the background here. If you can hear that high-pitched squeak, that's Carrie the camel squeaking right now. She's doing a little squeak in the background as she's eating some snacks. We see our animals who are big jumpers or have those powerful back legs. So frogs, toads, rabbits, kangaroos, and then they have those big kind of flat feet that help them be stable. So when they want to go for a big jump, they've got that flat foot, they lean all their weight backwards and then powerhouse off of them to get their big full push. All right, let's keep going on to our next one there. So next up, we have our ungulates, which again, my favorite word out there. Think your horses, your giraffe, our caribous. They typically have a very hard hoof and they're standing on their tiptoe. Now, caribou and camels are kind of an outlier for that. I'm hoping our camel friends come a little bit closer to me later on in their broadcast, and I'll get to do a zoom in on their feet because they actually have pretty soft feet. And caribou feet or hooves are really interesting. Theirs have to do with their habitat. So caribous can live in a really cold climate or really warm, depending on the time of year. And their feet will turn from hard to soft to help them walk around. So they'll be a lot harder in the winter when they need to dig through ice and snow. And they'll be a lot softer and kind of squishy when they need to be able to walk on muddier surfaces. It's similar to us here in Canada, and depending on where you live, depending on your seasons, we have to change into winter boots in the wintertime to keep our feet nice and warm and be able to grip the ice, versus in the summertime, you might spend more time with sandals on instead. All right, let's go on to the next one here for us. So this is probably the most well-known category, and we've got our paws. Now, paws and claws tend to go together. And animals who have those paws and claws, think fast runners or, big predatory animals. Our red panda down at the bottom, they're kind of special. If everyone holds up their hand and takes a look at it, and you can see your different fingers and your thumb on your hand, a red panda, they don't have a thumb like we do, but they have something called a pseudo thumb. So Jesse, do you want to come back onto me for one quick second, actually? And I'll turn the camera around back on me. Hopefully we can see me. I didn't turn the camera back around. But if you're able to go like this with your hand and you cross it over your hand like this is kind of what their paws look like. And it's more like a pseudo thumb. So they can still grab onto different items around them and hold on to food and bamboo. And so it gives them almost like a hand or a more delicate foot that they can use and grab hold of. All right, sorry, Jesse, I'll jump back with us to the PowerPoint there really quickly. And it's something that's really interesting about pawed animals is often they have claws as well. But does anyone know what makes a cheetah special with their claws? What's different about them than all the other kind of cats that I have on the screen there?
What an interesting question. I know the answer to this, but that's because I really like big carnivores. They're always my favorite thing. Does anyone know what makes a cheetah different from other clawed creatures? and it is different. It's unique to them, as far as I know, the entire world of runners, of cats, of bears, of dogs, of everything else. Let's see. Feel free to chime in the StreamYard chat, the YouTube chat, all the chats. I like that our camels are playing around with the ball too. They've got some enrichment going on.
Yeah.
Let's see. By the way, while we're waiting for some answers, the red panda note. We've had some of our best stuff ever with red pandas in Toronto Zoo programs. So if anyone wants to check those out again, they're on our YouTube channel. I think we might have them a little confused, Mary Ellen, but usually we get a lot of answers when we ask questions to the audience, and no one really knows what makes a cheetah different. I think a lot of our folks will know that cheetahs are the fastest animal on land. Do you want to dive in?
Indeed. Well, they have one really specific trait that makes them so fast, and that's that their claws are not retractable. So every other cat species and kind of big carnivore, think of your house cat at home. They have claws, but they can bring them in. They don't have to have them out all the time. A cheetah has their claws out 24/7. If we have any runners or anyone who plays soccer, football, I believe also rugby uses cleats. If you wear cleats for any of those sports, it's kind of like that. They have little kind of, their claws act as little dig-ins into the ground, and they're able to dig in and really project them or propel them through so they can run a lot faster. Yeah, we got our camels got some enrichment here for us. They're coming to hang out with us. And Carrie's being a little sassy over there. All right, we'll keep going on to our next one here. And we'll take a look at our next kind of foot. So these guys are also somewhat considered an ungulate. It's kind of a big, broad topic, but you can see a lot about an animal who has big kind of flat feet like this. So rhino, elephants. Oh my goodness. Hold on, we've dropped ourselves. Give me 1 second, everybody. Woo, there we go.
Drama. We're in the grass together.
Oh my goodness, everyone, you just dropped into the exhibit for a brief second. Let me reattach you here, and then we'll head back to our PowerPoint for us. A little bit of excitement into the day there. We love that. All right, we're all situated again. So onto our larger animals here. They've got these big, broad, flat feet to help support the weight of their species. And then also they're able to stay on their feet for a longer period of time. So they're animals who tend to be standing more or kind of larger in size or in weight. And so they have those big, broad, flat feet in order to help support them. Now, hippos do spend a lot of time in water, but typically we do see animals who are like this spend a lot of time in drier grasslands or kind of drier habitats in general, or swimming in the water. Not really in grass like we have here for the camels, or muddy places either. All right, let's keep going on to our next example. This one's really fun as well because we can see these are like birds of prey. So there's lots of really fancy words that I have there at the bottom, and all they basically mean is they tell you the direction of the bird's toes. So if you wiggle your toes on your feet right now, you're going to feel that they're all facing forward on your body. So they're all pointed in the direction that you're going to walk. And that makes sense because as humans, we're typically walking in the direction that we're looking. But birds spend a lot of time perched on different items. And if you've ever tried to balance on a balance beam before, you might know it can be a little bit difficult as your toes typically hang over the edge and you might rock forward. But for birds like this, they spend a lot of time up on the perch, and they actually can have their feet grabbing onto both sides of a branch to be able to help them stay secure. All right, let's keep this this animal train going here, and we'll take a look at maybe more of our aquatic species. Now, let's see if we can stump the group here in the top right-hand corner. Every other animal is pretty known for what they are. Does anyone know what the top right animal is? I just put a picture of their foot to try and stump us.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Let's see. If anyone wants to chime in, our St. Catherine's crew, if you guys want to unmute your mic as our camels are having a little bit of a spat here, I can come to you, Miss Fisher's class. You down? Oh, Madam Linda's class. What do we think?
Platypus.
Platypus. Very firm on platypus.
That's a great guess.
Yeah, go. That's right. Tell us more.
I would love to say that it's platypus. I should have put one. That is a fantastic guess for it. It's very close, though. It is a beaver. So it's adjacent to it in the same kind of way, but a platypus would have been a great one to have up there. But again, you see for it, all these animals have kind of webbed or wide feet or limbs, we'll call them, or appendages for the fish there with the fins, to be able to move smoothly through the water. So just like if you go swimming, you might put flippers on your feet to help you push through the water a little bit better. And this makes sure that they are fantastic swimmers and they are able to move all about and be super fast through the water to catch food or escape being somebody else's food. So it helps them to survive. All right, we'll head on to the next one here. And we're going to take a look at maybe some of our more reptile-based friends. Now, they can have a variety of feet, but typically what we see here is they have kind of small, almost hand-like feet. And they can either use those just for sitting and perching on the ground, but our chameleon friend actually has a really interesting foot that kind of looks like a Lego hand. If you've ever seen a little person Lego, and their hand is kind of stuck in a U shape so that they can grab other toys and other items in Lego land or Lego world, that's kind of what a chameleon's hand is like. And that's so they can grab and grip the branches, because that's where they are spending their time, up in the trees where it is safe from predators and also where their food lives. So they need hands and feet that are able to grab hold and collect on branches for them. All right, I think I have one more for us to discuss here before we move on to our different habitats, and that is our snakes. Now, you might be saying, Mary Ellen, I thought this was a program about feet. Why are we looking at a snake? They don't have any feet. But they weren't always this way. A very, very, very long time ago, our snake friends used to have feet, and over time, they've evolved to not have them. But there are some fossils and some documents related to it where we can see that they used to have them. And occasionally we get snakes nowadays who have what's called a residual limb, which basically means they have a little kind of sort of leg item that sticks off of them. That's usually like a cluster of cells or cartilage. And it was where their legs used to be on their body, and they just kind of still have it, and it hasn't quite gone away from them yet, which is pretty cool though. So they used to have them, but they've adapted and evolved so that they don't need feet or legs anymore. They're super good climbers. They can wrap up around trees or slither on the ground, and they're able to fully survive without any feet or limbs for them. All right, now I talked about each individual animal. I believe my next slide here is asking about some habitats. So can we ask everyone here in the group, let's name some habitats. Where do we think animals like to live?
We sure can. Okay, you guys have been a great audience. Oh, and you know what? While we're naming habitats, we're going to have an up close on our camel here while we're coming up with these. They are right there in front of us. By the way, just a quick note on our last thing, since everyone said platypus, I encourage every student to look up a platypus skull when you are done this broadcast, because they are really freaky and not at all what you'd expect them to look like. Our habitats are coming in: tundra, savanna, desert. These are great. A jungle comes to mind for me. We covered some water ones earlier. What are some ones? Arctic, desert, rainforest, grassland. You guys are great. Oh, so good.
That's perfect. Oh, Carrie's joining in here with us. They are not a fan of sharing over their food right now. But that's exactly right. So there's so many different types of habitats out there. Jesse, we can stay on them now because I only had one other slide there for us, but these guys are so entertaining here. We can just stick with the camels. But every single type of foot or feet that we talked about today belongs in a special place. So fish are obviously living underwater. We have our animals who have more grippy or hand-like feet. They are going to be the ones who are in the trees, up in the forest. We have our animals with paws and claws are typically on top of the land, so they can be in any habitat really, or digging underground. And then also think of animals like our polar bears who have nice big flat feet that help them to walk across ice and other clusters of snow. And then we have animals like our camels. Now, one of the reasons they are my absolute favorite animal in the world is they can adapt to pretty much any and every habitat or ecosystem that they are in. So these are called Bactrian camels here with us. And we know that because they have two humps on their back. So their humps make like the letter B. The camel with the single hump is called a dromedary camel. So a D has one hump, a B has two. So that's an easy way to tell them apart. But something that's really cool about them is they have to go through habitat changes of positive 40 degrees Celsius to negative 40 degrees Celsius. And everything about their body and their adaptations help them to survive that. So their feet that they've kind of got these, I don't want to say doughy, but that's somewhat the texture. They're kind of hard, but kind of soft feet that allow them to walk through sand, which can be really difficult if you've ever been on a beach before and trying to run in the sand. It can be a little bit hard, but their feet spread the weight of their body out. And so it allows them to walk through the sand quicker and easier. And then also on top of snow. Then you can also see there's lots of hair down at their feet, and their whole body is covered in hair right now. Although they are starting to shed it for the summer season, that hair on their feet also helps to keep them nice and warm and cozy in those cold, cold winter months. But overall, I would say that they are my favorite for their ability to adapt to all their different habitats that we see. All right, we've talked so much about the different kind of feet that we have. I know that we have a Kahoot coming up as well. I love a good Kahoot. So I will stand back. We will enjoy these camels. We'll do our Kahoot, and then we'll have some questions.
Sounds good to me. Well, thank you, Mary Ellen, for all that fantastic info and getting to hang out with our camel friends. You're not the only one who dropped a camera. My camera, for the first time, fell off mid-broadcast, too. So it's been exciting all around for the tech. For those who are new to Kahoot, the faster you answer, the more points you get. If you want to play along, the game pin is below, and I'm going to cue this up for everyone now. What you win is Mary Ellen and I's everlasting respect for all your foot knowledge. So consider that if you want to play along. And if you want to just yell out the answers in your class, that is totally fine as well. We are going to get underway in just a few seconds. And as we're waiting for you to come on in, I'll just note again, if you want to check out more amazing stuff, torontozoo.com has so much on the go. And recently, in lieu of the zoo's amazing 50th year in operation, they have Guardians of Wild as an amazing campaign. You can check that out on their website at Guardians of Wild. Lots to explore and discover there and on social media as well. All right, with our camels nipping at each other, we are going to dive in with our Kahoot together, and then we're going to do an awesome question period with all you classes. So get ready for that, folks, and let's dive in with our first question. All right, 3, 2, 1. All right, true or false? Snakes evolved from ancestors with legs. We talked about this very briefly in the program. What do we think? Did snakes always have no legs, or did they used to have legs, the ancestors of snakes? These are some fantastical camel sounds, by the way. I love it.
Yeah, they're very vocal today.
19 answers in. Get your answers in. The answer is true. Yes. So snakes are in the same group as lizards. And in fact, you can see snake relatives that have little tiny legs. Things like pythons will have little spurs at the back, those residual legs. And I was going to give away a hint of something else, but I won't. I'm going to keep it to myself. Scoreboard, Cheerful Horse has our lead as we go to question 2. Very good for most of you guys. What on earth does this foot belong to? Let's take a look at the foot. Whoa, that's a freaky foot. Is it a velociraptor, a kangaroo, an ostrich, or a T-Rex? 2 of them may be extinct, but I may be giving you a little bit of a hint with our answer. Ooh, a lot of people are having trouble with this one. Get those answers in. The answer is ostrich. Yes. So birds are dinosaurs. It's one of the coolest things we've learned in the last 2 decades. Birds are dinosaurs. And so when you look at like dinosaur feet in movies or TV or anything else, they look like bird feet if you look at bird feet up close, and the ostrich has a really big foot, so he's pretty freaky and cool. I love him. Cheerful Horse keeps our lead. 2 more questions, and then we are going to our GREC grade 1s for our first question. Millipedes have the most legs/feet of any animal ever. What's the record? What's the most legs that have ever been on a millipede or any creature in history? Is it 50, 200, 750, or 1,300? What do we think? Do you know this, Mary Ellen? What do you want to guess?
Oh, that honestly, I just thought as you put that up, I was like, wow, I can't even believe I didn't even touch on insects today at all their feet. That is impressive.
You put this very evenly, but it is 1,300 is the most legs on an animal ever that we've ever found. So for those of you who thought really big, you were right. Cheerful Horse is dominating this. Way to go. Let's go to our final question. True or false? Bat wings, whale flippers, horse hooves are just modified feet. True or false? We talked a little bit about this in the beginning. I've got a picture of a bat that might help you along with this as well. But it's one of the great joys of evolution is that we've got this modified basic structure: a human hand, a bat wing, a whale flipper. All these things at a skeletal level look very, very similar.
That was a loud one there from Carrie.
That's a great camel noise. So those who said true, you are correct. Let's see what that does to our leaderboard. And then we are heading to our GREC crew for our first question. Miss Caracas, we're coming to you next. Everyone, don't worry. We're coming to all our classes today. And YouTubers, please feel free to chime in as well. I think our clear winner in this, Cheerful Horse, wire-to-wire victory. Way to go. Let us know who you are in the chat. And let's head to our grade 1 crew to kick us off. Come on in, guys, and take us away. Hey. Hi, everyone. Hi. Do we have a question for Mary Ellen about feet? Oh.
You have to go up and say the question.
How do turtles like the turtles go in the water, but how do they like go on in their feet in the water, because sometimes water's higher than their feet?
Yeah, great question. So yeah, turtles are one of those really interesting animals that can not only go in the water and swim really well, but they can also come up on land, which is really fun. So you're right, it's kind of strange. So they do have more of, I'd say, well, some of them are different than others, because turtles that we have here in Ontario, they kind of have more of like a foot shape with little claws on the end, but they do have a pretty flat part of their foot that they can use to swim with. But if you're able to see, if you've ever watched Finding Nemo, there's some turtles in that one that are sea turtles, and they have flippers or fins that are more like skin covered, and they're able to push and swim through the water. And if you've ever watched a video of them coming up on land to lay their eggs, you actually might notice that they're not great at being on land. They can do it. They will do it to come and lay their eggs on the beach, but it's not a super graceful movement. And it's more like if humans crawled on the ground everywhere we went on our bellies. It's similar to that. They're much more adapted to being in the water than they are on land, for sure.
Yeah, that's a great question and a great analogy. Thanks, Mary Ellen. We're going to head to Miss Caracas' crew right down the road from you guys in Toronto. If you guys want to come on in, you're good to go. And Miss Hurley, we're coming to you next.
Okay,
Thank you,
Andrew.
Miss Caracas. 2, 3.
Hi, we just have one question. Go ahead.
What type of feet? What type of feet do insects have?
Oh, good question. Yeah, what type of feet does an insect have? So there is a lot of variety for it, for sure, but insects tend to have, if you were to like zoom in really close on their feet, because they're so tiny that to us from a distance, they kind of just look like, I'd say even just the point of a pin. They're so tiny usually. But insects are really interesting. They tend to have little tiny, kind of like stubby or sometimes grippy feet at the bottom, and they're able to stick to different things around them. So think of like a spider climbing a wall. They have really tiny feet, and they're often able to grip onto the wall itself to be able to climb up. And then other insects, depending, like ants who are more kind of on the ground, they're going to have a variety of feet in their back that are more for powerhouse or movement. And then their front feet are kind of looking around or grabbing things for them. And so they would be different from each other as well.
Fantastic question. The one thing we didn't cover, we're off to an insect feet, whole broadcast.
I know. I didn't know there'd be so much interest in insects today. We'll have to do a whole program on them.
Funny. Miss Hurley's class, we're going to head to London 6-7s. Come on in and take us away, guys. Hey.
What's your favorite animal?
Favorite animal, Mary Ellen?
Oh, favorite animal. These guys right here. They are my top animal. Specifically, Tilly hasn't come down yet, and I suspect because there's 4 camels but 2 enrichment balls, and she doesn't want to compete with the younger girls here. But this is, I believe, Josie here in front of me, and she's got a good place in my heart too. But I absolutely love the camels. Jesse, who's your favorite again?
Oh, I like a lot of the creatures there. I do like your Komodo dragons, which we have featured in some of our broadcasts. They're pretty spectacular. I like the, you know what? You're winning me over slowly but surely with the camels, and I'm going to test that even when camels are not in broadcast, and kids ask this question, Mary Ellen does say camels, so they are pretty charismatic. You also have gorillas there, which are pretty amazing to see a gorilla. They're a special animal. Very cool question, guys. We're going to head to our south side crew. Come on in Bristol. If you want to flick on your mic, Mr. Drosdy's class, you are good to go.
Okay, ask a question. Loud.
What kind of feet do fishes have?
Ooh.
Yeah, what kind of feet do the fish have? So their feet are really interesting because they can be classified as more of a fin. Oh, thank you, Josie. As a fin instead of necessarily a foot. But typically, fish have kind of 4 main fins. So they have here, I'm going to turn the camera back on me for one quick second here as I explain here with you. There we go. So they have kind of 4 main fins. They've got one on each side of their body, and that gives them their directionality. So how they turn left to right. Just like when we're walking and we want to go one way, we just start walking there. Their side fins usually give them direction. Their back or tail fin typically gives them their power and speed. So that's more like what our legs do for us. And then often fish will have one at the top as well. And for some fish, it has more to do with their mating selection or for defense or how they navigate. But for a lot of fish as well, it can help be like a balancer for them and kind of keep them in line with where they're going. So they would have fins instead of feet.
I'm so glad we're getting all these diverse questions. You guys are great. We're going to head to Carsonville, Miss Fisher's class. If you guys want to come on in, you are good to go.
Hi there, we have Summer here. Do you remember?
Do all animals have nails except for fish?
Oh, yeah. Do all animals have nails? Great question. So the camels are actually really close right now. So I'll try and get down at their feet. So they do kind of have a nail-like structure just on the very edge of their foot there. Not every animal has a nail or a claw, but a lot of them do. And most animals are really good at tending to them by themselves because nails and claws are going to grow throughout an animal's lifetime. They're constantly growing on them. And they can get pretty long, just like human nails. I painted my nails the other day, but sometimes we have to trim them or cut them or file them. Animals in the wild are really good at wearing them down on their own. So by walking on grass and then walking on compacted dirt or digging for food, they're going to wear them down. In captivity, though, they don't always do it as well. And sometimes we have to bring in specialists. For horses, it's called a farrier, who actually helps them to wear their feet down and kind of will shave off parts of their feet. So horses who are used for riding and different human activities, they can get their feet done every 6 weeks. It's like getting a pedicure every month for themselves.
That sounds lovely. I've got to say, I haven't had a pedicure in ages. So, guys, these have been some great questions. Time flies and you're having fun. So we're going to go to Madam Linda's class for our last question of the day. I do want to encourage you, if you want to learn more, torontozoo.com has so much there. This program and all the others in our series with Mary Ellen are on our YouTube channel. So there's so much you can learn about animals and conservation and more at the zoo. But St. Catherine's, come on in, unmute your mic and wrap us up. Hey, guys. Yeah, you're in. Just unmute and you're good to go. Your mic's still muted.
Okay, go for it, Malka.
What type of feet do seals have?
Oh, what type do seals have? Yeah, so seals are more of they're a mix again of a land and a water animal, but they are still breathing air. So that means they do have to come up and be up on the land to still kind of live and function because they are considered a mammal still. But they have, again, kind of fins, but similar. Jesse actually had a question in the Kahoot about this, is they do have like a back fin typically that kind of gives them their speed and they kind of wiggle their body to get speed in the water. But with their side fins or flippers, if you were to take the skin away, a lot of animals like that, they do just have a modified hand underneath of it. But instead of being able to spread their fingers out like we can, they're all kind of together in a skin sack, which sounds a little odd there, but that's kind of the best description for it for a lot of those animals that are like that. They have more of like an interesting fin or a flipper that they use to kind of move around. But again, if you see them up on land, it's not super graceful. Like they can do it for sure. That's how they survive, but it's not the most graceful movement.
I want to do a quick note too that seals and sea lions are a little different in this way. Sea lions are the ones that you often see that actually have a little bit of mobility in their fins. They can sort of get up and walk. Seals just sort of flop around like a big, spin sack, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
The things that I get to hear in Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants broadcast that are true but very strange sounding are endless. It's always a good time. Mary Ellen, before you wrap up with all our classes, is there any final message about animal feed, about the zoo, anything you want to share with us before we bring in our kids to say thank you and farewell?
Always. I love to share things about it. So you even mentioned this as well, but the zoo is turning 50 years old this year, which is very exciting for us. So we're celebrating our birthday in August. So there's lots of fun things. If you're able to come in person to the zoo as well, be sure to check out. There's lots of things happening. We even have a turtle nesting program happening this weekend, which is really cool that you're able to participate in. And so you can learn all about turtles and their nesting habits and their eggs. But there's lots of different programs. And even next month with Jesse as well, we are having our final program of this school year. If you've ever had a question that you wanted to ask us but didn't get the chance to in our broadcast, be sure to check that out and keep up to date. We're posting lots of old zoo trivia and facts on our social medias to celebrate our 50th birthday this year, which is really exciting.
Awesome. I'll bring up Guardians of Wild as well. If anyone wants to check out that page on the Toronto Zoo website, there's so much there. It's a lot of fun, and I can't encourage it enough. Now, Mary Ellen, as you know, what we do to wrap up every broadcast, I'm going to bring in all our teacher friends and students to say a big thank you and farewell. So, TREC crew, Miss Caracas, Miss Hurley's class, Southside. I'm coming to everyone. It's just taking forever for some reason. I promise I'll have you all on. There we are, Madam Linda's class. Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.